You can't run now, Heather. It's happening. Last chance. Where'd she go? She was going to take bodhisattva vows, but she's in the bar. Yeah. She's a Dinah's chicken. Hiding out with the biscuits. No, not at all. Okay, so these last are called the 4 black and the 4 white deeds, and these are also ways to strengthen and or weaken your engagement with your awakening, with your compassion and your wish to serve others. So they're pretty straightforward. And the white deed is the antidote for the black deed, okay? So you would want to recognize if in your mind you are intentionally deceiving your spiritual teacher or teachers, or any other holy being by lying to them, okay? And the white deed, so the antidote to that is to never intentionally speak a lie to any living being, even in jest. So intentionally is clear because sometimes something comes out and it wasn't our intention. So this is like saying, you're really thinking to yourself, I don't want to say this to my teacher, so I'm going to lie. Or I'm going to, deceive this person in some way or another. So there's some form of premeditated, which we have to think about. Premeditation could go on for days, or it can literally go on for the second before you speak, right? But there's some intention that you're going to speak this thing. That's different than and it is true, we can all acknowledge, sometimes something comes out of our mouth and we go, that just came out of my mouth, And of course, if what came out of your mouth is a lie, you should immediately say, I'm sorry, that's not true, actually. This is what's true, right? You shouldn't go, oh, oops, a lie came out of my mouth. Oh, well, moving on, So not intentionally deceiving anyone ever, right? Because of course, if you see yourself intentionally deceiving others, you will create a world where you don't trust other people. And particularly, really core with your spiritual teachers, with anyone who's working with you at the level of your heart and your consciousness, you better trust that person. And so how are you going to create a covenant of trust with those beings? You have to make sure that you're not going through your life deceiving anyone. And then if you're not deceptive, you literally won't have the potential, you can't see it. There's no way for you to see deception, And other people might say, don't you see that person's trying to cheat you? And you go, no. And again, it's like we find what we're looking for, So sometimes we go through our day looking for what people are doing to cheat us, And sometimes we go through our day looking for the ways people are helping us. What do you want to create in your life? What impression do you want to create in your life? Okay. It's very painful to feel like someone has intentionally deceived you, if that's ever happened to you. I mean, that's betrayal, right? We feel like we've been betrayed by someone. We thought they were someone and they turned out to be someone else. It's a horrible feeling. So, you'd never want to give that feeling to someone else. The next one is the black deed of causing another person to regret some virtuous thing they have done. And the antidote to that is bringing a person that we are cultivating to strive to perfect enlightenment. So this is saying that as we've been talking about the whole course, as you're moving through your day to seek for what will be of greatest support to the people around you. This is what it means to cultivate someone to strive for perfect enlightenment. On a very technical level, and I actually didn't put it in here because I don't think it applies so much to us directly. You would say instead of the lower levels of spiritual practice, that you're trying to have someone come to their highest evolution, okay? Our highest evolution is whatever we're capable of practicing in the moment is our highest evolution. Sometimes we get caught up in like, oh, you're doing this practice and I'm doing this practice, and this can happen, and I've seen it at this center even, like, oh, you know, you're an advanced practitioner, or you're this, and you know, at a certain level, at a certain point, I just kind of said to people, you know, wherever you're practicing is your highest practice. If you are at your edge, then that is the highest practice. And if everyone else is doing that, we're all actually doing the same practice. We are all doing the highest practice. They may look like different things, but we're all actually in the same experience, you see, which is that we're right up against our afflictions, and we're trying to move past into a greater level of consciousness. It's like, if anybody has taken yoga or something, you know, sometimes I used to teach yoga, and you know, I'd be in a class and I'd see like there's one person who's sort of like here, you know, and there's another person who's got like their leg behind their head, you know, and then you can sort of see the person who's there going, well, like I'm not such an advanced practitioner, you know, but the question is, what's happening at the level of your mind? Like, so if this is your edge of stretch, and this is the edge of the other person's stretch, you're both at the same place, actually. You're both at your edge. And then we can relate in that same place, you know. Then we can be inspired and say, wow, that's what this person's edge appears like. You know, I aspire to have that be my edge. But, you know, the inner experience is actually the same. So, you know, striving to support all beings. And the first part of this, the black deed, we talked about quite a bit. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, but celebrating for people rather than causing someone to regret, you know, something that's amazing that they're doing. And, you know, most often we would do that just because we're somehow jealous, or we want to take their, you know, their happiness away somehow. The next one is the black deed of saying something unpleasant to a bodhisattva out of anger. So, who is a bodhisattva? Who knows? I don't know. So might as well just say everyone's a bodhisattva. Everyone, you know, and the base level, everyone is a bodhisattva. They're all trying to be happy and avoid their pain. Which means to serve others. That's the best way. You know, everyone really is trying to connect with everyone else. I truly believe this. That as we go through our day, we really are trying to connect with other people. You know, most often in really ridiculous ways that are not actually working. But, you know, if you ask most people, I really doubt people would say, no, I don't want to feel connected. No, I would like to feel like everyone hates me. And, you know, I would like to hate everyone else. I feel like I'd be happy that way. It's like, who would say that, right? So everyone's a bodhisattva. And so don't say anything out of anger to anyone. Okay, and in general, this is a nice way to think about it. Like, you know, just don't say unpleasant things to people. Try to say pleasant things to people. You know? Yeah.
What if it's in the name of humor?
Well, then you have to sense, like, is that person in with the joke? Like, will that person get the joke? I mean, of course, because with our close friends and things, we can say all kinds of sort of body things, or, you know, but this came up actually with another one of my students a couple years ago, and she was talking about how she and her friends have a really sort of acidic sense of humor, like a really dark sense of humor. And she was like, well, you know, I feel like if I clean up my speech, I'm not going to be able to engage, you know, with all these people. And I just think, well, you know, you can look at all these comedians, and there are comedians that don't use any negative language, don't use any sexual jokes, any cursing, and they're really funny. And there are comedians that their whole thing is just to take other people down. And that's ultimately from an ethical level not funny. You know, so you see someone that would laugh at that kind of thing, they're laughing from pain. They're meeting pain with pain. They're not actually laughing from joy. You know, I think of someone like Bill Cosby. Like, Bill Cosby seems to, you know, he's really funny. Or, well, I haven't seen him in years, but, you know, is really funny. Or even someone like Jerry Seinfeld, you know, like, in the times that I've seen Jerry Seinfeld, he's never taking anyone else down. in a way, he's sort of just constantly lifting up his own sort of ridiculousness, you know? So you can acknowledge that with, you know, with different people, you might have different language that you use for your sense of humor, but make sure that your way of engaging in humor is not to the detriment of other people's life in some way or another. You know, that you're laughing at the expense of someone's pain. That's not really funny. And it's not funny if it happens to you, if you're on the other end, right? So we have, at the university where I work, at the end of the year, the students do a roast. They roast the faculty. And it's really interesting because for the most part, the students are very sweet in their roasting. And so it's joyous, and like, you know, the faculty really enjoys sort of being made fun of, you know, and like different people play different people, and you know, like my roast is always like, it's Mira's class, let's meditate, everyone. You know, like they go through some kind of like spiritual trip, and it's great. It's like, oh, okay. But there was one year where we had a particular group of seniors who just, they were a very challenging group. There was a lot of anger in that particular senior group, and their roast was cruel. And you could sort of feel like, oh, you know, this is not in the spirit of this ritual that we do at the end of the year. And I could feel how painful it was for the few faculty members who, like, it just crossed that line. So, you know, you just have to sense, like, I bring up the roasting thing because I think at one level you could think, well, that's at the expense of someone, but there's a different way of sort of like loosening up and like, let's all laugh at each other, and another way to say, really, I'm pissed off at you, and this is my way of getting at you somehow, right? Which I don't think is what you were talking about, but just, you know, to, okay. Where are we? Next one. Number 3, the black deed of saying something unpleasant to oh, we just talked about that. So the white deed of that is conceiving every living being as your holy teacher, and to see all beings and all things as totally pure. Whoa. That's a very intense practice, and really is one of the highest practices in Tibetan Buddhist practice, is to go through your day like that. Just try to see all things as pure. And of course, then you have to think to yourself, well, what is pure? What does that mean, right? Are beings serving me, or are they trying to hurt me? Am I serving others, or am I trying to hurt them? So trying to clean your mind, trying to have a high view of everyone around you. Because of course, if you had that, you would never speak to someone out of anger, right? You might need to say something forceful to them, but it would be out of compassion. The last one, the black deed of acting in a devious way that with shouldn't be there, in a devious way, or the and shouldn't be there, sorry, in a devious way with living beings, meaning without any sense of personal responsibility for their awakening. So, and the white deed of that, the antidote to that, is maintaining an attitude of total honesty towards every living being, free of any kind of deception. So this is a little different than the first. So in the first, we're talking about intentionally speaking something. But this is about like an overall aura of your being, that you are moving through the world as an open book, not deceptive, not trying to hide anything from anyone, open about your faults, open about the things that you have experienced that are positive, you know, and really just moving in service of others. So if you're moving in service of others, you're available, right? So everything is open. And this is why, like, you know, all these deities are shown naked. Well, she's got a nice little top on, actually. But oftentimes they're totally nude. And that idea is that they're free. There's nothing to hide. So it'd be good to move through the world like that. And I think this is really interesting, you know, that it would be devious to relate to someone without feeling their own life as your own personal responsibility. It's very moving, actually. It's like everyone is your responsibility. Everyone's life force is also connected to your life force, and you are responsible for them. So when we forget that and we start to relate to people as what can they do for me, for my life force, we're devious in a certain way. And of course we forget that 24/7, but these practices are trying to protect our minds and help us. So that's the totality of all the practices of the Bodhisattva, vast and deep as they are. And just a reminder, they are here to support you. They are here to support your development. They are 100 and a gazillion% in service of you. They're personal. They're meant to relate directly to your life. They see you across a vast span of time, so they're relating not only to this present moment, but your past, your future, and all the levels of your consciousness that are going on in this present moment. So all that you're aware of and all that you're not aware of, these vows are taking care of. And if we can drop ourselves into that level of care, we will be taken care of by them. As we bring ourselves to deeper study, to looking at them every day. Again, I encourage you to keep studying them. Sometimes people are like, well, I took a course on the vows already. But it's like if someone's teaching on them, you might as well go if you can, because they're going to say something a little different. Or I feel so grateful every time I have the opportunity to share these vows because I totally learn something new about them. I see how they're structured in a different way, or I see, how they sort of go together in a new way. And it's very inspiring. And of course, it's like every moment we're different, so the vows appear different to us every moment. They're infinitely evolving as we're evolving with them. And in a certain way, they're already awakened, so they're staying the same, and we're coming to meet them. So as we evolve, we see them in a higher and higher way, right? There's many good commentaries. I think I put some in the reading. But you could just go to Amazon.com and type in Bodhisattva vows and see what comes up and just start reading. Just start reading commentaries. It's really helpful to read how different people articulate them over time. And, again, I just really encourage you to study them because they're very, very beautiful. And if they are for your whole lifetime and beyond, so it's helpful to touch base with them every day in some way or another. And if it feels like too much to keep the 6 times a day book, except for people who are taking vows, in which case, you need to keep that book, take one a day and just say, this is my guide for the day, not deceiving any being. That's my guide, or my guide is forgiveness for the day or for the week. Or, you can kind of sense out for yourself. Like sometimes a week can go like, I have the whole week, so, I'll get to it by Wednesday or something, Or you can, as you get to know them well, like sometimes I can think to myself, well, I'm going into this situation today. I need the protection of this vow, of this particular one. I need to take this on with me today. I need to really, so it's like you can sit down and say a little prayer and say, please come and support me today. Bring it into your mind and say, I'm available, all the powers. These vows are not only at the level of your consciousness, but because our inner world is connected to our outer world. When you plant the seed in the inner world, they become embodied in people, in things, in sounds on the radio. The vows become embodied all around you. So you can start to then see how they're working in your life. So you can call that power. It's like, calling on an angel and saying, I need the power of truth today. Please, reveal yourself to me, move through me, and let me see you. Inspire me. I need your help. I have this meeting, or I'm, going into this situation, and I don't have confidence, or whatever it is, right? And you got to learn the vows well enough to get to that level where you know them, to sort of say like, oh, this is how they can sort of work with me. So first, just study them. Do 1 a day or 6 a day or however many you can handle for a few months in a row, and very quickly you'll get to know them. They'll be living in there. It's really fun. It's a really wonderful way to go through your day. I just put a couple things on the last page of your reading, and I'll just go over them for 5 minutes, and then we'll take a 15-minute break before the vow ceremony. But these are ways to, again, keep strengthening your practice. So let's see, what do I really want to go over here? I think the four causes are pretty clear. And I'll just go over the 5 steps to keeping the vows well. So respecting them is the speech of an awakened being. So to recognize, again, to try to lift these vows up, that they have come through a long lineage, and none of these vows came from any place other than the sutras of the Buddha. So if you, hopefully you do, have some sense that there was at some point in time a being who really reached their fullest consciousness and was a being of total compassion, total wisdom, and total power. And these are the practices that this being spoke and offered. And those have been handed down generation after generation because they've worked for people and they've come to you. So because of that, you hold these practices very high. And again, if you don't hold them that high, they won't do that much for you. You just will sort of go like, well, you know, the Buddha's okay. But, and this would be the same for any spiritual practice. You know, these are the teachings of Jesus, or these are the teachings of Muhammad, or, you know, any being that you think has had a direct, you know, lightning bolt connection with that which is beyond. Respect what they're offering. Then holding the 3 intentions. This then speaks to your own intention for your practice. So because of this, because you have this outer vision of something quite extraordinary, you intend to follow that path so that you too can evolve your mind and your heart to a great degree. And you intend to really realize your highest evolution. That's your wish, that's your hope for your life. And with that, the only reason why you would want to do that is to be of service and to be connected to others and to be able to feel like you can really serve others in your life. And then, of course, you would take the vows. So it's easier to keep the vows once you've taken them. It's interesting, you know, it's like if you haven't made that shift, as we'll see Heather make today, they're not really your vows, they're someone else's vows. Once you take them, they're your vows. And then the question is, are you keeping your vows well, right? Until you take them, they're someone else's vows. And then you respect them as the most precious possession that you have. Very, you know, very beautiful in Buddhism that the way we talk about what is most precious there are no material possessions. It's your spiritual instincts, your spiritual heart, your mind. Those are your ability to be honest, your ability to speak gently. Those are all your most precious possessions. And of course, no one can take those away from you, right? Those are yours. And again, because they're the most precious thing you own, you keep your vows. So you take them and you keep them. And you protect them and grow them like you would a child. So I think the last 5, the benefits are pretty extraordinary, but they're pretty clear. So you can think about them and look at them. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Anybody online have any questions? Yeah.
We're talking about power today and developing talent.
Just speak a little louder, dear.
You were talking about powers and developing talents. I find challenging to find the balance between going with the talents that I feel I already have versus working on the shortcomings that I have.
Yeah.
So dedicating my energy, I find maybe you can offer some guidance for how to determine, sometimes I undertake whole projects or tasks just because it's something I don't want to do. And maybe I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
Get out of that kind of
Yeah.
lock like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's good. And again, it all comes down to discernment. And i- if you have the power to do that, to say, okay, I'm going to take on this whole project with the sense of, how to say this? So there can be a kind of selfishness to, like, I'm going to get better at this thing that I'm not very good at. And then there can be another space, which I believe you're engaging with, which is like, okay, I need to get over this shortcoming that I'm feeling in myself so I can actually like be of better service. Then you have to ask yourself, do I think I can really do this? And if you can, then that's great. And then it's a talent, actually. It's a talent that you didn't know you had. So you just, you can be discerning. And then there are other times where the needs of people, you take it off of the needs of people around you, is what it comes down to. And if the needs of people around you are coming to you and it's like, it's the thing that's easy for you, but that's what's needed, great, fine. And if what's needed is not so easy for you, great, fine. And if you really can't do it, then you have to say, I really can't do this. Is that?
Yeah, I see some like people I respect or high practitioners who, and I can't really discern, strategy because some people are very just, this is what I do. Like I'm a great teacher and don't mess with, I'm not gonna do anything else.
Yeah.
And they're a great teacher and they don't do anything else.
Yeah.
And that works great for them. And there's some people who like do everything. It's I guess I can see the merit in both. And something like when I hear you say develop your talents, just go towards your passion and go towards what you're really good at. I find that often the people that I see that really go towards their passion, they're a little lacking in other areas, which is fine. Like, I think people around them in the world kind of lets it go. Because,
Yeah.
every genius is a little crazy.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense just to go around the need.
Yeah, what do people need? And, from that, it's difficult to judge from outside, right? So you sort of have to sense for yourself, because it might appear like someone's doing one thing, but within the thing that they're doing, there's probably many facets of that process. And who knows, but you can sort of sense for yourself, well, here's maybe another way to think about it. So if I need brain surgery, I want to go to the person who has spent, that's all they've been doing. And I don't care that they don't know how to work a computer, and I don't care that they don't know how to arrange flowers, and I don't care that they can't clean their house. I need brain surgery, right? So sometimes there are things in our life where they take priority, and they may or may not be a talent, however that works, but there's a passion that someone has, and you want to go as deeply as you can because someone will need that level. And every extra thing that we do spreads us out. Now, there are some people who the way they serve best is by spreading out. And that's the way they're needed. And I look at both of those types of people, like the brain surgeon and the person like you're talking about who sort of can organize everything and is on 18 different committees and is like doing all these different things, right? They're equal to me. Like, in a way, they're both serving at this, they're serving differently, but at a similar level in a certain way. Because maybe this person, it appears, is serving like, 500 people at a certain level, and this person is going to take the tumor out of someone's brain. Both are really key, so, and I think that we go in and out of those places at different times of our lives. So again, it's discernment. Like, is this the time of your life to go into your medical studies, right? Or is this the time of your life to sort of spread out and go like, can I help in the community? And if you don't know, of course, you ask your teacher or you ask someone that you respect and sort of say, what do you think I should be doing with my time? And so that ideally you could be a brain surgeon and serve on all the, like, it's interesting, I'll just say this and then we'll take a break, but at the university, they sort of arbitrarily set it up, which I don't think works so well actually in the development of a human being. But the idea is like you come in as a assistant professor and you're supposed to spend all your time on your research, your focus, your study, you're supposed to become the brain surgeon, right? And then you graduate to associate professor. And then it's like a little bit more is asked of you. It's like, okay, so now you're a brain surgeon, so now you should start to mentor other brain surgeons. But like, keep going, because you probably have some important studies to do, and you're probably going to discover something new about the brain. And then you become a full professor, and they're like, okay, now go on all these committees. Like, you don't need to do too much of your own research anymore. Like, you're an elder now, so spread out your mind, right? Now that's an arbitrary progression of someone's life, and it may be that someone sort of starts in a way as spreading out, and then they become a mentor, and then they really, in the latter part of their life, they go into being a brain surgeon, or like even within a day, we might go through these sort of steps. Like we meditate in the morning, and then we do 3 hours of Mahasukha work, and then we go to our job, or whatever it is, right? But I think it's helpful, that model is sort of helpful to see like these are different areas of how we can place our energy. And again, like, is the world sort of helping you? Is the world supporting you? Sometimes you can't get any support to study to be a brain surgeon, so you go, okay, I guess this is my time to serve in a certain way. And that service creates the karma for me to be able to do these like intensive things or something, right? But it's never so cut and dry. It's never so cut and dry, And sometimes, like I said, there's part of our spiritual growth is that you're being asked to do 5,000 things, and you have to say, no, I'm just trying to do this one thing right now. And that creates, if the intention is pure, that creates a particular spiritual power. If it's not because you just don't feel like doing anything else, but because you really sense like, I can't be distracted. I can't spread my energy out like that right now. And then I think if you're discerning well, you can sense, no, now is my time to spread my energy out. I've gained enough power, I can do that. So, no easy answer.
Sal has a question.
Yes, Sal, and then we'll break.
Lama, can you share with us the moment you felt compelled to take your Bodhisattva vows?
The moment, I don't know if I remember the moment, but I think for me, with vows, for me it was sort of like, oh, of course. There was just sort of, and I don't say that flippantly at all, and I recognize that doesn't happen for everyone, but it seemed very clear to me that that's what I should be doing with my life. And more what happened is that right before I took my Bodhisattva vows, I got really sick for several weeks, to the degree that I thought I actually wasn't going to be able to make it to the center to take my vows. And I was emailing my teacher and saying, I'm really sick. I can't finish. I was doing a longer course on the Bodhisattva vows and doing homeworks and finals and all that. I was saying, I can't finish them. I don't have the energy to finish them, and I remember thinking, this is like, there's a purification that's happening in my consciousness that's sort of going like, and I just knew, I was like, I have to get there. I have to get there and take these vows, and I can't let this moment, this possibility pass. And, and it's not as dramatic like I was in the hospital or something, but I had never gotten the flu like this. I was so laid out with the flu, just to that level where it was like, I can't move, I can't, and I had gone to Nepal, and don't ever go to Kathmandu and spend several weeks in a hotel with broken windows and like cold water, no hot water, and it was sort of like, of course, what was I expecting, But anyway, I don't so much remember the moment, but I do remember this accumulation of determination to make it across that moment. And And when I did, I remember feeling extraordinary relief and joy, and feeling like, you know, I had accomplished something in this lifetime that really was of benefit. And anytime that's happened to me, it is a very particular joy that is unlike any other joy. This feeling like this will be helpful, you know, for everyone, that I've made it across this line. And I've never regretted it for a second. And I've been so deeply, deeply grateful for them in every moment of my life since. And if you look at the temporal, if you look at the benefits for having the Bodhisattva vows, one of them is that you'll be surrounded by friends. You'll have a place where you can study. So, you know, basically you're born into a life with the conditions to practice. So we have to ask ourselves, do we think that we haven't had this in our mind stream for a very long time? Why do we have this kind of life, right? So sometimes when the vows, anytime, even if you've struggled for years thinking about taking the Bodhisattva vows, the moment that your mind goes, I want to take them, it's like, where did that come from? Where is that coming from? We don't ever learn anything new. Everything is remembered. So it's like something just shifted and you went, oh yeah, this is what I'm here to do with my life, right? So, yeah. So let's take a 10-minute break and come back at